Hi there, it's Lisa from Juju Crafts. Here's a 3D tag. It's a shadow box that I made for a swap at minialbumscraps.ning.com, and you can see this little diver's helmet that I made from a resin piece. I had a necklace and I didn't, of course, want to use my only necklace, so I made a mold of it from some 101 putty, and that way I can reuse it multiple times. The ladies there have asked me to make some videos showing how to make the molds, how to use the resin, how to color them, and this will just be the first introductory video on just the molds themselves and why. This isn't how to make the molds, this is just showing some of the things you could use the molds for and some molds that are available already purchased, and then at the end I'll show you a few of the molds I've made. Not the prettiest things in the world. I'm no professional by any means. I'm just an old lady who sits and crafts too much, and I wanted to make sure that other people had that opportunity to be able to have some fun stuff that they enjoy. You can see there's lots of things you can do with resin molds. This is 3 different molds, 2 wings and a gear, and I just stuck them together with E6000. You can make some little cheap jewelry just for fun, just like if you were doing some cosplay or Halloween, and there is a variety of things you can do with it. For instance, here is a mini album I made last year, and you can see the skull. It's just a Tim Holtz skull there, but the eye is just a resin piece that I molded into a little dome and painted behind. And I used some resin throughout this journal. Let's see if I can find some here. Hold on. At least I think I did. There we go. I call her Lolita, the Queen of the Dead. That's just a cabochon that I had. Didn't want to use my only cabochon, so I made a mold of that cabochon. And then this hand right here is actually a charm, but I actually ended up molding it as well, so I wouldn't have to use my last one. These are cabochons, the little twins in the hand, and I wanted to be able to, of course, use those multiple times. So I had purchased that mold from eBay, but that way I can actually reuse it multiple times and have my little twins and my little hand anywhere I go. Hopefully by tomorrow I will have a couple more videos made. One will show you how to make your own molds out of products that are available, not from, you know, just stuff around the house, but just products you could buy and how easy it is to do that. And then one will be to show you how to make your own resin, you know, to mold the actual resin and to paint it. These are my fingers. Yep, that's my little finger right there. I had some putty left and it was getting ready to get too hard too fast, so I shoved my finger in it just to see what happened, and then I stuck a stick pin in it when I poured some resin in there, and look at there, Halloween stick pins ready to go. Also, if you look at the bottom of those fingers, you'll see that purple. That's also some silicone mold putty, and what happened was I made a mold and it was horrible. I really messed it up, so sometimes that's going to happen. You know, I just found a use for it. It became my new stick pin holder. You can make stick pins out of all kinds of things. I had a vintage heart with cupids on it. I made a mold of that. It was a brooch, and I've used it so many times on so many projects, and this is an example of just turning that brooch into a stick pin that I can reuse multiple times just by making a mold and buying some resin. The resin and things like that are not that expensive. It's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive, and you can make a ton. These were those little buttons that you can buy at almost any store, and I turned those into my own molds, and in turn made my own stick pins from them. And I can also reuse that mold to use those little cherubs wherever I want. I also like to play around with clay. Definitely not a clay master, you can tell that. And I made this little inkwell to go with a mold that I had of feathers, but I didn't want to keep making a bunch of inkwells out of clay because I was, you know, in swaps, ladies, you know, a lot of times we're making 4 to 6 of those. So I made a little mold of my clay piece, and now I can make my inkwells whenever I want. You can see with these two faces, the black one's just painted with gesso, and the one that's green, I actually put a little bit of different types of inks or pigments. I didn't buy any resin pigments because I'm sort of poor, so I'm trying to watch it. But I will go across some of the things that I used. Well, I'll talk about some of the things that I've used to color and to pigment different kinds of resins with. And I've only used a couple different kinds of resins, but I'll go over that as well. Of course, you can see one of my favorite things to do is just paint them gold and touch them with a few other different colors. There's so many different molds that you can use. That was actually my cat sneezing, if you heard that. Sorry about that. This was just a keychain that I had, and I love that. See what else here? Filigree. It's great to make just, you know, some 3D filigree for your projects. And okay, so this is a necklace that I had that I fell in love with, of course, when I was younger. Old ladies don't wear that kind of stuff anymore. Ha ha ha, yeah, we do. Anyway, I wanted that in a mold. Found some inexpensive mold material, made myself a mold. Now I can use it multiple times, and I have on some Halloween tags. The one place you can get molds is eBay. They're pretty inexpensive. I don't think I paid more than $2 for any of the molds here that I'm going to show you. I have a bunch more molds in this, but just for instance, you'll find deeper molds. This one's a baby. I take it back. I think with everything else, I paid like $2.25 for that mold with free shipping. And when you put resin in it, it comes out with this cute little bitty baby. And just some ideas of some things that you can do with little resin pieces. Of course, you can put them on top of gift packages, make it extra special. One of the things I did was I actually attached it to the top of a rock and put some wings on it out of some acetate and made a little fairy and moss paperweight. It's for when I'm outside reading and I just want to hold down some papers. And it was just sort of a fun thing to do. There are a variety of molds you can get. Here's a cabochon that I got from eBay for 99 cents, free shipping. Just a lady holding a little bird. It's really beautiful on Victorian and shabby chic projects. And this one is already pre-made. And you can see it has a lot of detail. They really do. They've done really well on some of these. And they're always going to come out much prettier than when I make them. Mine are never that pretty around the edges or that symmetrical. But mine work just as fine. And so it's just as easy to make your own. There are some that you get that's going to be sort of thin. And they're a little bit, a little testy to use because you have to be careful because you can't really pour into each of these letters. So you almost have to make a sheet and then just wipe off part of it. Here's some of the cabochons that you can see. Remember, if I use some of those in the book with the little twins in the hand. This is just tinier cabochons with a variety. That was like $2 from eBay. And again, that one they sent to me in the shape of a heart, just so you can see what you might can get. I think one of those actually got for 11 cents. I can't remember which one. These are Martha Stewart molds. You can find those in Joann's, Michael's, sometimes Walmart. If it says silicone, you can use your resin in it for the most part. I haven't found one yet that says silicone that I could. You can see here it's like that leaf, and it looks very Baroque. Looks great on a lot of Victorian projects. And she has quite a few in her line. Usually they comes in packs of 4. There's also Mod Podge, and they have started to make a line for their hot glue, but they are silicone molds. They work just fine for resin. This is industrial piece, but they have several other ones. These are just the Wilton Fondant cooking molds that you would use to decorate cakes with your, I guess the cake boss calls it fondant, or okay, I can't say it right, but anyway, so you can make all kinds of little fun stuff with them. And like I said, it says silicone, usually pretty good chance. However, there's probably going to be a few situations where you might not. I got this at the dollar store, but I also got 3 other ones. The other ones are now in the trash. This one worked just fine. Had no problems with it. I could push things out of it. But the other ones, after the first time of using them, the resin came out good the first time, and then it just started sticking. And it was actually so bad I couldn't even reuse it for clay. Also, these are clay molds. Sculpey clay molds. Do not use these for resin. Do not. That one's actually ruined right now, even for clay. I've tried to put cornstarch in it. I can use mold release, but it's still going to stick some because the resin took off the protective coating. You can see here on this one, see how the resin pieces, that's just some extra resin because I'm sort of lazy and I don't clean off everything all the time. See how that resin just pops off of there when I run my fingernail over it? And it's pretty easy to clean most of your molds off whenever you've got some extra resin on the sides. Now if you're using a mold like the Sculpey clay molds, and you just can't get it off this easy. You just can't. And like I said, you might luck up. You might get one good mold out of it, and you'll be so happy and you think, yay, this mold worked. But guess what? It didn't. You've actually ruined your mold. And like I said, now I have to line it up with cornstarch, with mold release, with everything just to use my clay in it. And it's sort of sad because I love this mold. I love Santa Claus. You know, Santa Claus is all ruined. And actually the clay won't even come out of his nose hardly anymore. So do not use these Sculpey clay molds for resin. Alright, so then we get over to where I have made some molds myself. And there's a variety of mold materials that you can buy. I get most of mine from Amazon or from Joann's or from Michael's. Some of it is a putty, some of it's liquid. They're both 1-to-1 ratio. Some of them take longer to set up than others. There are some molds, like those dark purple ones, that takes about 5 to 10 minutes to set up. I think you're supposed to wait a little bit longer to use them, but like 20 or 30 minutes. But you know what? I've made them, let them get hard, just poured resin in them. They've worked fine. You can see some of them might not make sense until you see what came out of them. These are little itty bitty teeny weeny travel pieces of chest. They look so cute. That one right there is those two are frozen Charlotte Daws that I had for a long time, and that was the pour mold. It takes overnight to set up, and now I can just make little Charlotte Daws whenever I want. Sort of fun. And of course there's different types of resins. That one's clear resin. That is actually hot glue. I was out of resin one day, started playing around, put hot glue in my little silicone mold, and I painted it. So now it's all flexible. I can use it for whatever I want. Obviously you don't want to use it on anything that you're going to use for a long time or that's going to get in a heated area, because of course, you know, if it's in the sun, hot glue gets a little soft. Okay, well, thanks for watching this first video. Like I said, this was just an introduction on the different types of molds, where you can get some molds, and then the rest of the videos that'll be coming up will be on how to make the molds and how to paint your resins and when to take them out, and a few little tips here and there. The bag, if you have cats, dust, glitter, keep your molds in a bag. For whatever reason, silicone definitely attracts just dust and hair. Some of my molds turned out nice, some not so nice. I'm going to give you some tips on how to avoid things like this, and the mold still works fine. That's why I still have it. But you know, if you want them to be pretty, you're going to have to, you know, maybe get some containers. Like I said, sometimes you have to make repairs. We'll talk a little bit about that too. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope to see you coming in and watching on the next 2 videos.